Okay, let's just do a vibe check before we even start. I want you to picture a specific place and time with me. It is August 30th, 1965.
Right, which you have to remember, culturally speaking, is a really weird time. It's post-Beatles on Ed Sullivan, but it's pre-Summer of Love.
Exactly, and we are in Elmira, New York, so not exactly the center of the avant-garde universe. It's a humid Monday night. We're in a small, probably a little bit cramped, back room of a house.
Mhm.
The air is thick. I'm picturing it hazy with cigarette smoke because, I mean, it's 1965. I'm pretty sure people smoked in their sleep back then.
It gives it a very noir atmosphere, you
It
know?
really does. And in the center of this very mundane, smoky little room, you have a woman, Jane Roberts,
Mm.
and she's sitting in a rocker, glasses off, eyes closed. She is in a deep, deep trance, and speaking through her is this booming, intellectual, sort of aristocratic personality known as Seth.
And you can't forget the other person in the room. In the corner, you've got her husband, Rob, just scribbling furiously, trying to capture every single word before it just evaporates.
It has all the trappings of a seance from some Gothic novel, but what they're actually doing, I mean, it's closer to quantum physics than it is to ghost hunting.
That is the distinction. That's what we have to make clear right up front. Tonight, we are doing a deep dive into session 183 of the early sessions, book 4 of the Seth material.
And look, if you're listening to this, you probably know the drill by now. We aren't here to debate if channeling is real. We're here to analyze the content that was produced during this session. Because honestly, the content it's mind-bending.
Oh, this specific session is a real heavyweight. We're not just getting, life advice here. Seth is laying out the literal mechanics for how reality is constructed.
Yeah.
We're going to look at his argument that our emotions are the actual building blocks of time and space.
Which sounds like a nice little bumper sticker, right? Love creates time or something, but when Seth explains the mechanics of it, it's actually incredibly technical. It's almost architectural.
It is. And we're also going to break down his theory that your dreams are essentially a biological supercomputer running simulations to solve your waking problems.
And because we need a little bit of that spooky factor to keep things chilling, we are going to dissect a clairvoyance test from this very session. It involves a hidden envelope, and frankly, it's baffling. It just defies any linear explanation of time.
It's one of the most convincing evidentiary hits in the early material, I think. It gave me legitimate chills just reading it.
Same here. But before we get into the heavy metaphysics, we should probably do the housekeeping.
We should. We want to be very clear that this deep dive is distributed completely free of charge on all major platforms, and it's for educational purposes. We're researchers, we're not gurus.
And we have to give credit where it is absolutely due. This incredible material comes from the Seth material, which is published by the New Awareness Network.
And if you find yourself hooked by what we talk about today, and I have a feeling you will, we really, really encourage you to go to the source. Don't just take our word for it. Study the Seth material books yourself. You can find them and visit the bookstore at sethcenter.com/early sessions.
Absolutely. Go get the books.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's unpack this thing. Seth kicks off this session with a concept that it broke my brain a little bit. He starts talking about psychic space.
It's a fascinating term, isn't it?
It is, because, usually I think of space as, well, the distance between me and the refrigerator, physical stuff. It's measurable. I can pull out a ruler.
That's Euclidean space. It's fixed, it's predictable, but Seth just throws that right out the window immediately. He says, and I'm quoting here, an emotion obviously does not take up physical space, yet it takes up varying amounts of psychic space according to its intensity.
Okay, hold on. Varying amounts according to intensity. So he's treating an emotion like what? Like a gas. Like if I heat it up, it expands to fill the container.
That's a decent analogy, but maybe think of it more like gravity and general relativity.
Yeah.
You know how massive objects actually bend space-time?
Right.
Seth is arguing that massive emotions dominate our inner geography. He's basically asking us to map our reality not by miles, but by feeling.
Okay, so help me visualize this. If I'm having a really intense day, let's say I'm, I don't know, having a panic attack, which, let's be real, we've all been there.
Or the opposite, the absolute opposite.
Right.
You just fell in love and you're having that first kiss.
Right. In that moment of the first kiss, or in that moment of total panic, where is the rest of the world?
It's gone. It doesn't exist.
Exactly. The emotion is so intense that it fills up your entire psychic space.
Yeah.
There's literally no room for the grocery list, or the fact that it's raining outside, or that scratch on your car.
The emotion has completely colonized the map. And Seth argues that this intensity is what creates what we call the present. He says, intensive emotion will represent the present in time.
So the now with a capital N is just wherever the feeling is the strongest.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And think about it. When an emotion starts to fade, what happens? How does it feel? It feels like it's slipping away from you. It feels like it's becoming the past.
Whoa, okay. So the past isn't a place behind us on some timeline. The past is just an emotion that has lost its intensity.
That is exactly Seth's argument. He says the emotion shrinks in psychic space as it dims. So distance in time, saying something happened a long time ago, is really just us saying, I don't feel that very strongly anymore.
That explains so much about how memory works. You know how you can remember something really embarrassing you did in third grade and it feels like it was yesterday? You can literally feel the heat in your cheeks.
Yes, because the emotional intensity is still there. It's still potent.
So in psychic space, that embarrassing moment isn't 30 years in the past. It's right next to you.
It is part of your now, because the emotion is still filling the space. Seth actually says, and this is another quote, the stronger the emotion, the more vivid the moment becomes. Strong emotion unites experience and knocks down the artificial barrier of past, present, and future.
It knocks down the barrier. That is heavy. It creates this bizarre paradox where, like, trauma or extreme joy basically makes you a time traveler. You aren't remembering, you are reliving.
Exactly. The past is just a label we put on what we perceive as low-intensity data.
So, okay, if strong emotion creates the present, then what is the future?
And this is where it gets really, really interesting. If the present is full psychic space, then the future is empty psychic space.
It's empty because we haven't. We haven't felt it yet.
Exactly. It hasn't entered our psychic environment.
Yeah.
But, and this is the key, when you finally reach a future event, if you get emotionally involved in it, boom, it immediately becomes the present.
In all capital letters.
In all capital letters. It's the emotional engagement that converts the potential of the future into the reality of the now.
I love this because it explains the relativity of time in a way that, high school physics class never did. Like, for example, if I'm in a really boring meeting.
Oh, the dreaded spreadsheet meeting.
Ugh, it's painful. And I'm just sitting there listening to someone drone on about Q3 projections. There is zero emotional intensity. I am bored out of my mind. The psychic space is empty.
And because it's empty, there's all this room in your awareness to notice the duration, to notice the ticking clock.
And consequently, the time just drags. It feels like an eternity. I am hyper aware of every second passing.
But if you're on a great date, or you're watching an incredible movie, or you're deep into a video game you love,
the psychic space is packed. It is full of intensity. There is no room left for me to even notice the passage of time.
And suddenly it's 3 hours later and you have no idea where it went.
Exactly. Seth is telling us that we create our own personal time dilation every single day, just based on how much we care about what we're doing.
Which kind of suggests that time, as we experience it, is really just a measurement of our boredom.
That is. Wow. It's empowering, actually, but also kind of terrifying. It means if I'm bored at my job for 10 years, I haven't really lived 10 years. I've just existed in this low-intensity gray zone.
You've been living on the outskirts of reality, not at the core.
The outskirts. I like that. And Seth moves on to that concept next, but he bridges it with something I really didn't expect. He starts talking about color.
It's a beautiful analogy, isn't it? He brings up the color red.
Yeah, why red?
Well, just think about how red makes you feel. It's alarm, it's passion, it's blood, it's visceral. Seth says, red is the most present or immediate of colors.
It screams NW.
It does. It has extremely high intensity. It takes up a lot of psychic space. I mean, if you walk into a room that's painted bright red, it's very hard to ignore it. It dominates the now.
Okay, so what's the opposite then?
The cool colors, blues, greens. Seth calls them contemplative. He says, and I'm paraphrasing a bit, that they leave room within psychic space for other emotional experiences also.
That makes perfect sense. Blue feels expansive, like the sky or the ocean. It doesn't scream at you. It invites you to think.
Right. And because it's not filling up all the space with screaming intensity, it allows for a different kind of time perception. It allows for reflection, for duration.
I like that. So red is sort of action present and blue is reflection duration.
Roughly speaking, yeah. But then Seth takes this whole framework of intensity and color and applies it to where we spend a third of our lives.
The dream state.
The dream reality. And this is where the normal rules of physics really just go right out the window.
He says that in dreams, the time barrier is basically, it's just dispensed with. It's gone.
Correct. I mean, think about your waking life. If you want to go to the grocery store, you have to get in your car, you have to drive down the street, stop at the lights. There's a whole physical construction of time and distance you have to move through.
Right. I can't just teleport to the milk aisle as much as I'd like to. I have to endure the commute.
But in a dream,
In a dream, I'm just at the store.
you are there because the intensity of your need places you there instantly. Seth says transitions are more rare in the dream state since physical time lapses are not necessary.
That is such a good point. I never really thought about that. In dreams, you rarely dream about the commute. You just dream about the destination, the important part.
Because the commute is just physical distance. It's low-intensity filler. In psychic space, if you have an intense feeling about a place, you're instantly occupying that psychic place.
It's like a jump cut in a movie.
Exactly. Seth says spontaneity is more the rule. Images appear and disappear, for there is no necessity to construct them as continuous physical constructions.
So in the physical world, if I want to build a house, I have to lay the foundation, then put up the framing, then do the drywall. It's continuous. It's a process.
In the dream world, the house exists the moment you have the intense need for shelter.
I really wish real life worked that way. Renovations would be so much cheaper.
Wouldn't they?
Hmm.
But there is a deeper nuance here about the core versus the outskirts of an experience that Seth mentions.
Yeah, explain that to me again.
Okay, so Seth says, when you directly experience an emotional event, when you are at its heart, so to speak, then you do not seem to experience physical time.
Right, this goes back to the panic attack or the first kiss. When you're in the core of it, time just stops.
Correct. But then he says, only as you move to the outskirts of the experience does such time realization enter in.
The outskirts. I love that image. It's like, as long as I'm in the middle of the big city of an emotion, I'm just lost in it. But once I start to drive out to the suburbs of that emotion...
You start checking your watch. You start wondering what's for dinner. You re-enter the linear flow of physical time.
And Seth says in dreams, we are almost always at the core.
Yes. The dream experience, however, is always free of the realization of physical time. For you experience dream events directly from the center of awareness.
So we are just hopping from one intense center to another intense center, and we're just skipping all the boring suburbs entirely.
Exactly. Which is why dreams can feel so chaotic and nonsensical to our waking minds, but they feel perfectly natural while we're in them. We're surfing on pure intensity.
Okay, so dreams aren't just these random hallucinations where we surf on emotions. Seth actually claims they have a function. A really, really important function.
A vital function, he would argue.
He calls the dream state a place to work out solutions to problems without the mess of physical construction.
Think of it like a simulation lab. In the physical world, if you try a solution and it fails, there are real consequences. You lose money, you break something, you hurt someone's feelings.
Right. The stakes are high.
But in the dream reality, you can run the simulation. You can test out all the creative intensities without any of the physical fallout.
Seth makes this really cool comparison to Shakespeare here.
He does. He asks, why have Shakespeare's plays endured for centuries? Is it because they are historically accurate?
Definitely not. I mean, half the history in those plays is completely wrong. And the geography, I think he gives Bohemia a seacoast and the Winter's Tale. And it's a landlocked country.
Exactly. They are not physically true, but Seth says they are true to life in psychic terms.
Psychic terms, meaning they feel emotionally real.
They capture the intense core reality of human experience. You know, jealousy, ambition, love, betrayal. That is the truth that matters in psychic space. And that is what our dreams are doing every night. They are creating these little psychic dramas that are true in order to solve our problems.
Okay, so let's get into the mechanics of this, because Seth actually breaks down the workflow. It sounds like computer programming.
It is remarkably similar to a computer system. It's almost uncanny.
So, step 1, input.
That's the ego, the waking self. You're walking around in the physical world and you encounter a problem. Maybe you're broke, maybe your relationship is failing, maybe you just have no idea what to do with your life.
Okay, so my ego perceives the problem. I have no money.
Right. And the ego's job is to perceive that physical situation as accurately as possible. Then step 2, processing. The ego feeds this data to the subconscious.
So I go to sleep, and I hand off the file to the night shift.
Essentially. But you don't just hand off words. Step 3 is translation. The subconscious breaks that data down into symbols.
Symbols? Why symbols? Why not just write out a memo?
Because Seth says symbols are crisper in its fashion, and more concise and more inclusive than any written language. A single symbol in a dream can represent your fear of poverty, your complicated relationship with your father, and your hope for the future all at the same time. It's highly compressed data.
Okay, so the subconscious zips the file into a symbol. Then what happens?
Step 4. Execution. The inner self, the deep, deep part of you, focuses all its available energy on these symbols to find a solution. It runs the scenarios, it plays out the psychic dramas.
It's crunching the numbers.
It is. It's using all its knowledge, all your past experience, maybe even past lives, according to Seth, to solve the puzzle you've given it.
And then finally, step 5. Output.
The solution is handed back to the waking self.
How do I wake up with a Post-it note on my forehead?
Sometimes it's that direct. You wake up with a sudden aha moment. Other times it comes as a strong intuition later in the day. Or, and this is the weirdest one, sometimes you just find yourself acting differently without knowing why, and the physical events around you just shift.
That is incredible. So we are literally sleeping on it, and the IT department downstairs in our subconscious is fixing the glitch.
That is the ideal scenario, yes.
Oh, there's always a but.
There is a warning here, a big one. Seth talks about the danger of the rigid ego.
Oh boy. What is a rigid ego?
Imagine a manager who refuses to admit the sales figures are down. He cooks the books. He tells the team everything is great while the building is quietly on fire.
Okay, yeah, I've had that boss.
That is a rigid ego. It refuses to see reality clearly. It distorts the input data because it is afraid of the truth.
So going back to our computer analogy, garbage in, garbage out.
Precisely. Seth says it is extremely important then that the ego correctly interprets the physical situation, for this is the information that it will give to the computer, so to speak.
So if I walk around telling myself, everyone hates me, the world is out to get me, but that's not actually true.
You are feeding corrupted data to your own dream computer.
And the computer just says, okay, boss, problem, everyone hates you. Running simulation, solution, isolate yourself and be miserable.
Exactly. It will solve for the reality you gave it, even if that reality is a hallucination created by your ego's fear.
That's
terrifying.
It highlights the absolute importance of intellectual honesty with yourself. We have to be honest about our problems if we want our powerful inner self to actually solve them.
We have to give the IT department the right error code.
Or they can't fix the bug.
That's profound. It makes me want to be really, really careful about what I dwell on before I go to bed.
It should.
Speaking of dwelling on things, or people, let's shift gears to a segment I'm now calling psychic vampires. Well, Seth doesn't use that term, but yeah, the concept is definitely there.
Okay, so the context here is that Seth is talking about a person named Mark.
Right. Mark is an entity connected to a friend of theirs, a man named Bill McDonald.
And Mark seems to be a little needy.
That is a very polite way to put it.
Yeah.
We're talking about the concept of weaker personalities who seem to rely on stronger ones for their psychic energy.
We all know these people. You talk to them for 10 minutes and you feel like you need to go take a nap. They drain you.
That is the common perception, yes. We feel drained. We feel used.
But Seth,
Yeah.
being Seth, completely flips this on its head.
He really does. He offers this very chilling, but also strangely positive twist on it. He says, the very act of dealing with him kindly utilizes your own abilities. You become stronger and better able to deal with your fellow human beings.
So lifting the heavy weight makes you stronger.
Exactly. He's saying that if you engage with these people unresentfully, and that's the key word, unresentfully, you aren't losing energy. You're actually generating more of it.
He uses an analogy about animals here that I thought was really sweet.
Yes. He says animals rely on the psychic energy of their owners.
Which is so true. My dog looks at me like I am the sun and the moon. He needs my reassurance, my attention.
Does that drain you?
No,
Yeah,
not at all. I love it. It makes me feel capable. It makes me feel like a protector.
Precisely. And Seth says, just as pets rely on owners for psychic energy, some people rely on stronger personalities.
So if I feel drained by a Mark in my life, Seth is basically saying that's on me. That's my fault.
He is saying it's a sign that you aren't fully using your own abilities. He says, and this is a bit of a zinger, if your abilities were fully developed, you would be so renewed in any encounter that no such question would arise.
Wow. So the feeling of being drained comes from my own resistance, my own resentment toward the person.
The drain comes from the friction. If you were able to flow that energy freely and kindly like you do with your dog, the interaction would actually invigorate you.
That is a tough pill to swallow, but I get it. It changes the whole dynamic from victim to benefactor.
It empowers you completely. You aren't being robbed, you are being generous. And generosity in this model creates abundance.
I love that. Okay, listeners, are you ready? Because we have arrived at the main event.
The envelope test.
This is the part of the session that plays out like a magic trick, except it's real. So set the scene for us again.
Okay, it's late. It's almost 11:00 p.m. The session has been long and very intense. Jane is tired. Seth is starting to wrap things up.
And then, out of nowhere, Seth asks a question.
He asks, "Do you have no tests for me?"
Which is just so cocky. I love it. He's like, come on, challenge me. Give me what you got.
And Rob, Jane's husband, is totally caught off guard. He had actually prepared a test envelope earlier, but he'd hidden it because he didn't want to interrupt the flow of the session.
So now he's fumbling around looking for this envelope.
Yeah.
Jane is just sitting there, eyes closed, probably tapping her foot, waiting for him.
Rob finally finds it, and he puts it on the bed in front of her. Now, you have to remember, Jane's eyes are completely closed. She is deep in a trance. She picks up the envelope, she fingers it lightly, but she does not open it.
And what is inside this envelope?
It's a little scrap of paper that Rob cut from a calendar, specifically a calendar from a local lumber and hardware store. It's for the month of April, 1965.
Okay. A piece of a calendar, folded over. What does Seth see?
He just starts rattling off impressions.
Well,
First he says, the number 5.
was there a 5?
Yes. On the calendar side of the little clipping, right in the upper center, was the number 5.
Okay, that's a direct hit. What else?
Then he says, several buildings.
No, wait a minute. A calendar usually just has numbers on it.
This is where it gets three-dimensional.
Yeah.
The calendar page was double-sided. The back of it had a drawing. And sure enough, directly behind where the number 5 was on the other side of the paper was a drawing of a house and a floor plan.
So Seth is literally seeing through the paper.
He is seeing the object as a whole, transparent thing. He continues, he says, much space. A yard.
Correct.
The drawing had a yard around the house.
Okay. This is getting weird.
It gets weirder. He says blue, perhaps a dress. Now this is interesting. The drawing on the back, the floor plan, was printed on a blue simulation of blueprint paper. So the color blue was definitely there.
What about the dress?
We'll get to the dress. That's the spooky twist at the end. He also says a road. And yes, in the drawing, a road led up to the garage of the house.
So he is nailing the physical description of this hidden object, not just one side of it, but both sides of it.
He is. But then he says something that Rob initially thinks is a miss, a clear failure.
What does he say?
Seth says something to do with 2 people, perhaps a dress.
And Rob looks at the little clipping.
And there are no people. It's just a house and a bunch of numbers.
So was Seth wrong? Did he finally miss?
This is the chilling part you promised everyone. Rob, being a good researcher, goes back and finds the original full calendar page, the big sheet of paper that he cut the little scrap from.
Okay.
And about 4 inches away from where it had made the cut, there was a drawing of a man and a woman.
No way.
And the woman in the drawing, presumably wearing a dress.
So Seth didn't just read the object in the envelope. He read the history of the paper. He read what was next to it.
It certainly appears so.
Yeah.
He perceived the entire gestalt of the object. He saw what was physically next to it before it was ever separated.
That implies that objects retain some kind of connection to where they came from, like a phantom limb for a piece of paper.
Or that Seth's consciousness was not limited to the physical boundaries of the envelope. He remote viewed the entire calendar page as it existed in Rob's workspace, not just the tiny piece that was folded up inside the envelope.
That is absolutely mind-blowing, and it connects right back to what we said at the very beginning about psychic space. Physical distance, the 4 inches between the clipping and the drawing of the couple, it didn't matter.
It didn't matter at all. In psychic terms, they were part of the same event or the same object. The cut was just a physical separation, not a psychic one.
Man, it makes you wonder if that applies to everything. Like, if I hold a rock from the Great Pyramid, can I actually see the pyramid?
That is the core principle of psychometry, yes.
Yeah.
And Seth seems to be demonstrating exactly that. He is picking up the resonance of the whole from just one small part.
Wow. Do you have no tests for me? He really just dropped the mic on that one.
He certainly did.
Before we wrap this up, there was one other little nugget in this session, a very brief mention of a past life vision Rob had.
Yes, that's right. While Rob was painting earlier that day, he had a sudden, clear vision of an older man's face.
And Seth just casually identifies him.
He does. He says the man was an acquaintance from a life many centuries ago in Mesopotamia. He was a teacher.
And what was the connection?
He was a relative of the personality that Jane was in that life, a male personality who was named Seth.
It's like a cosmic soap opera that spans thousands and thousands of years.
It just reinforces this idea that the entities involved here, Jane, Rob, Seth, are a gestalt. They're a soul group. They've been intertwined for centuries, taking turns in different roles. Teacher, student, brother, sister.
It really makes you wonder who the people in our own lives are, right? Like,
Yeah.
is my barista actually my long-lost brother from ancient Rome?
According to this material, it's entirely possible.
So what does this all mean? Let's try to synthesize this massive download of information we just got.
We covered a lot of ground.
We learned that emotions create space. The present is just where the feeling is strongest.
And the future is just empty space until we decide to care about it.
We learned that dreams are a data processing center, a simulation lab where we solve our biggest problems using symbols instead of words.
As long as our ego doesn't feed it garbage data.
Right. And we learned that consciousness can see through envelopes, through time, and it can even see the parts of the picture that have been physically cut away.
It suggests a universe that is far more interconnected, far more fluid, and more malleable than we usually assume.
Here's a provocative thought to leave you with then. If strong emotion creates the present, and low emotion pushes things into the past,
Go on.
are we living in the past simply because we are bored?
That is a profound question. If you are just sleepwalking through your life, are you even really in the now?
Maybe that's why time seems to fly by when you get older. We stop having those intense first kiss moments. We stop feeling things as intensely.
And so our psychic space shrinks.
And we kind of fade out.
So the antidote is intensity. Feel more. Be more present.
I love that. Everyone, this has been an absolute trip. And again, please do not just take the summary as the gospel. Go to the source.
Please visit sethcenter.com/the early sessions. Get the early sessions book 4. Read session 183 for yourself. There is so much nuance we couldn't even begin to get to.
And remember, this deep dive is free for educational purposes. We just want to share the wonder of it all.
It's been a pleasure exploring the psychic space with you tonight.
Keep your ego flexible, keep your dreams vivid, and we'll see you in dream reality.